Talk to me.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm back with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a horror film I saw before I left on my trip. And it was one that came out in July and was, believe it or not, directed by two YouTubers. Ironically. And this one was going to be for none other than last month's newest horror film from A24, Talk to Me. So what's the plot? Well, the plot of this movie is when a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand by saying, "Talk to me," and I let you enter, they become hooked on the new thrill until suddenly one night, one of them goes too far and opens the door to the spirit world, focusing them to choose who to trust, the dead or the living. Yeah. So how was this movie made? Well, Talk to Me, as you guys should know, is a co-production of Causeway Films, Bankside Films, and Talk to Me Holdings, and is a presentation of Screen Australia in association with the South Australian Film Corporation, Adelaide Film Festival Investment Fund, Headgear Films, and Metro Technology. And directors Danny Michael Filippo worked closely with producer Samantha Jennings, one of the co-founders of production company Causeway Films, who was familiar with Adelaide because they knew her from working with her on The Babadook, which was another Causeway Films production, and credited her to keeping them grounded and helping to shape the film. And when it comes to where the area is set, it's obviously set in Australia because the film's set in the filmmaker's hometown in Adelaide, which is in South Australia. And this one relied largely more on plot, apparently, rather than special effects, sun scares, or gore. And the Filippo brothers have stated that they are committed to filming and doing post-production in Australia for all their future projects. So, and eventually, sometime this year, the trailer was released. And after the film's trailer was released and the film was shot and marketed and stuff, Talk to Me would go on to have its preview screen at the 2022 Adelaide Film Festival, followed by the world premiere at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival on January 22nd, 2023. And when it came to and then when it comes to actually release to the public, it was released theatrically in Australia on July 27, 2023, and internationally the following day. And of course, when it came to the reactions, the film received some positive reviews from critics. They praised the story, horror sequences, practical effects, and performances. And the craziest thing is, in August 2023, a sequel was confirmed for development. So, now as for my reaction, well, about 2 nights before I had left for my trip up north, I saw this movie in theaters, and now let's make this clear, guys. This year for horror films has been shit. Like, I think this is probably one of the shittiest years for horror movies in a very long time. Last time horror films were this shitty, a lot of recent years for horror films have been shit, but I think the shittiest year I've witnessed was 2015. That's probably been the worst year for horror movies, no doubt, I have witnessed. This is already coming close. Now I think about it, this whole year for movies has really sucked. Like, is this kind of an odd thing every single decade where 2013 was a shitty year for movies, and now 2023 is a shitty year for movies? This is not a similar pattern. It's like whenever we get to the threes in a decade, those always end up being the shitty film years. That is not a good thing. But yeah, this year was shit for horror movies. But this one, when it comes to Talk to Me, this easily might have to be the best horror movie I've seen this year. It's the only one that stood out to me the most. And it's this fun, creepy, and mean possession and supernatural movie with some good use of effects, performances, tone, and writing. Like the directors, Danny and Michael Filippo, we all knew, apparently are these two YouTubers named the Raka Brothers, who I've never heard of before. But apparently they've made some ridiculous but fun, gory stunt work videos that are apparently considered hilarious to watch from some people. Like in the past, YouTubers have gotten the chance to make movies, and most of them have honestly, sometimes they end up being bad, or sometimes people who are just known for directing music videos get to make movies, and none of them end up being good. Choice in that examples are Samuel Bear, the Elm Street remake, a director of music videos, that failed. Then you got the guy who directed the 2011 prequel to The Thing. He only directed Pepsi commercials. And guess what? That prequel sucked balls. Fuck The Thing 2011. The prequel can kiss my ass. But this movie's just wild ride, and I think I had a fun time watching it. And most of the production settings and sound designs are pretty good. The use of the effects regarding stunts are practical, were well done, and it helped enhance the supernatural horror and creepy elements together. And the camera work is solid. There are some pretty cool camera work shots anytime some of the horrific moments appear on screen. And many of the performances from the cast members are pretty good, especially Sophie Wilde and Joe Bird, as each performance was strong and made the characters interesting to observe. And teenage characters can often be unlikable in horror movies, but it's actually refreshing to see some of these teen characters feel real, without making them over-exaggerated and terribly written, especially the lead teenager the most. And the narrative is the typical horror possession concept with familiar tropes, but the narrative works here because it explores some new territories that did surprise me, and ideas that were definitely refreshing, especially for a demonic possession film. And I appreciate them not using the typical unnecessary door slam jump scares and cliched tropes in generic horror movies. And Danny and Michael Filippo really made something special here. And I'm glad it's getting the critical praise it deserves. Especially, like, they just went from a YouTube channel called Raka to directing a horror movie. And were able to pull off a great low-budget horror film on a budget of $4.5 million. And they've made a decent profit so far with this film because they've already confirmed a sequel. And the cinematography and direction were all incredible, with some expertly crafted scenes and this very dark and foreboding story that does have some originality to it, even though it's another supernatural hell demon other side story. The scenes with the hand are definitely, I think, were scary and tense with this unpredictable nature to it. And the rest of the story was surprisingly unpredictable and unconventional. It also captures the modern Australian generation pretty well. And the movie did really have an impactful effect on me. Like the tone didn't just feel like just shallow horror, but it was a legitimate one that actually had a foothold in Australian society that felt somewhat believable in certain areas. The tension was soaring ever present. The music was great too. There's definitely not many jump scares in this, but the scary scenes themselves are clever and hard-hitting. And the movie didn't just fly by either. It did feel like it did run a bit longer than just 9 minutes, and I did appreciate how it held my attention the way it did. And I did feel some genuine dread at times from it. And usually I never feel dread for demonic possession horror movies. If not ever. Like most of the rest of the young people in the suburbs, like we all know, they're often obsessed with rumors of an occult craze at a parties thereabouts. There's video evidence circulating on social media. A bunch of kids even get a hold of this creepy China hand, understood to be this actual severed hand, cinematically enhanced. And if you take hold of the hand and say, "Talk to me," you will see a dead person. If you invite that person in, he or she will invade your consciousness. But if you let it happen for more than 90 seconds, a dead person invades your body forever. And these drunk, weed-smoking, giggling kids had been taking turns with the hand, slowly timing each freaky 90-second trip with their iPhones. And the movie had audience-style despair, and the Filippo's energy is infectious as they unleash this decade's worth of dabbing into it. They view the rocks and rolls with relish, and there's some gnarly scenes of gore brutality too. And that's by the kind of loud, lurid sound design that even takes full opportunity to ramp up the chaotic atmosphere. Like, Talk to Me, it's this film that's a disconcerting narrative revolving around these band of teenagers that saw a profound experience beyond murders, one reached by communicating with the spirits of the departed. This unique device, a ceramic hand, that serves as a condole to the other side, and permitting the one who possesses it to interact with the special apparitions. And the marvel here is that the careers of this piece of art YouTube, which were Danny, Michael, Philippo, their amateur status was spectacularly bellowed by the professionalism that underpins their work, and draw on favorable comparisons to veteran directors in the industry. In fact, I think Danny and Michael might have a big career ahead of themselves. Like, I really hope that they can end up being good horror directors, not like Ari Aster, where he had one good horror movie, and then he directed a mediocre film, and then this year directed a shitty film that I ranted on. Which, by the way, that shitty film was also made by A24, and was among their worst. The cast is where Talk to Me truly shines, and Sophie Wallace's revelation, effortlessly portraying a spectrum of emotions, his grief, depression, and urgency, in a breathtaking performance that is undoubtedly the standout of the film. And however, the commendable performances of Zoe Turakis and Amanda Otto can be understated, each contributing significantly to the film's overall emotional texture, and the directors themselves, the Filippo brothers, deserve special mention more. Because usually, they masterfully navigated the intricacies of the film media and blurred the boundaries between professional and amateur creators. And their feat serves as a potent reminder that the realm of cinema is open to all who possess the passion and tendency to bring their vision to life. And from the beginning, Talk to Me brings his energy with the kinetic opening sequence taking place at a house party. The music blares as this man makes his way through partygoers, pushing, shoving, otherwise stopping at nothing to find whoever he's looking for. Which is how the movie starts. Tension builds, the horror creeps in, and combined with the surprising finale to the bombastic introduction, the story is faintly entertaining and sets a tone for what's to come and what is to come in this really smooth combination of horror and entertainment value. Like you see, Talk to Me is actually scary, but not in a jump scare sort of way. I don't recall any real jump scares in this movie besides just one jump scare, and that was it. Talk to Me usually builds tension through its slick visual style, its shocking violence, and what it chooses to show and not show to its viewers. There are sequences where characters engage in an occult ritual that are frightening because the movie decides to depict what supernatural elements are at play. And even more terrifying are the ritual sequences that may not depict exactly what's going on, and it leaves it all up to your imagination to fill in the blanks. It's extremely effective. It's definitely not like Smile last year, which was literally about this curse that makes people smile, and then it passes that curse on to them and they die. That's all it was. It was just some stupid, goofy hallucinations. All Smile was literally just that, and then some dumb, cringy scene where Calipen just peels his face off to his skeleton flesh, and some naked, long-haired demon entering Kevin Bacon's daughter's mouth. And then she sets herself on fire. This was a better movie than Smile. I don't know why this movie can't have Smile success. Because this movie's not a ripoff of other horror movies. Everyone's like, ooh, Smile's the great one. Pfft. Fuck Smile. Smile's just a shitty, overrated fucking flick. Anyway, back to this. Talk to Me is elevated by the writing, the acting, the character development at play here. And what I really enjoyed about this movie is just how entertaining, likable, each and every one of the characters were. Even though they're not exactly the best of people, I recognize that some of the characters were jerks and do cause nothing but trouble wherever they go, but the way they were played by the actors and their lines of dialogue and all-around development, I just smiled from ear to ear due to how much fun I had watching them interact. The writing is also really clever. Some fun party-going sequences that counteract against the horror. The characters that talk and act like real people. Both the actors in front of the cameras and the talent behind the camera seem to be really inspired while making this movie. And Talk to Me is definitely an example of how to take a relatively straightforward premise and do something fresh and exciting with it. Unlike, say, also The Boogeyman this year, or many other horror films, especially the one I just mentioned earlier, this movie doesn't feel like it's treading in place and in the exact same beats as other movies, even if we have seen some of it before. Part of this has to do with the energy the film captures, and it's hard to explain, but there's this distinct teenage energy that Talk to Me nails, and something I always like when I see it on screen. It's entirely believable that these people we're seeing are teenagers, and they act the way they do. There's this zippy, fun, fast-paced nature to the movie, and I adore the complete opposite of the slow, boring horror that most associate with the elevated subgenre. And part of this has to easily do with the excellent cinematography and sound mixing, which feels violent and jarring at times. Every time the character spins and follows the character, it feels like they're being whipped around. The sound that accompanies everything just elevates the tension. And it's not a jump scare movie. It's a movie that keeps you unsettled from the jump. And when it comes to and I think of all the characters, I think Mia easily was the best of the characters as well. Well, I thought the actress from Mia did a pretty good job with her performance. And especially, this is an actress I've never seen before. Most of these actors I never saw before. So I liked their performances, especially for the first time I've seen them. And I also do like the way this movie ends. Like, after being told by Rhea that Riley needs to die in order to be set free, Mia tricks Jade and Sue into leaving the hospital and enters Riley's room, where he takes the appearance of a rotting spirit and finds herself unable to kill him. And Jade arrives at Mia's house, where she finds a bleeding Max before returning to the hospital just as Mia leaves with Riley in a wheelchair towards the highway. The spirits attempt to convince Mia to push Riley into oncoming traffic, but coming to her senses and realizing this would hand him over to the spirit realm completely, Mia instead jumps in front of a car herself and saving Riley, who is then rescued by Jade. Then after that, an injured Mia is suddenly transported to the hospital, where she sees a fully healed Riley and Max leaving. She attempts to reach her father. She is transported to a black landscape, where she finds herself on the other side of the embalmed hand, while other partygoers play the game as well. The feeling that she died saving Riley is now a spirit herself, and pretty much the cycle continues. So I think it's a pretty chilling, like, somewhat bittersweet ending. Like, A24 usually is known for downer horror endings, which do get repeatedly repetitive and annoying. This time here, the lead still kind of dies, but the thing is, though, the two other leads actually live. Two of the other characters are fully healed, at least, so at least two characters finally survive for once, and not everybody just gets killed off. Finally let two characters live. Because A24 needs to stop giving every single horror movie they make a downer ending for a change and actually let some characters live. However, despite all the good I said about Talk to Me does have nitpicks. Because if I had any issues with Talk to Me, I wish it was kind of longer. Like, I wouldn't have minded a scene or two elaborating on the hand, where it came from, or just characters hanging out. Honestly, and given how good everyone is, fleshing the characters' role and context would have been welcome. And I will admit, there was one scene in the movie that was definitely kind of cringe. And it was where one of the partygoers used a hand and then has to encounter this sexual demon who then caused him to do sexual things. I think you remember he ends up kissing a dog. That's going to turn off just about anybody who hates A24 and hates their horror movies. I could definitely tell. If I see any rants for Talk to Me, it could probably be describing that one scene. But I think that's all I have, because honestly, I just enjoy Talk to Me, and I think it's the best horror movie this year. And it's especially a kind of horror movie I definitely needed after nothing but shitty horror movies this year. So in the end, Talk to Me is worth a watch and a buy for horror movie fans and A24 fans in general if they want to see two YouTubers be directing a horror film for the first time. And if you're wondering how... Anyways, that's it for my review of Talk to Me. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Talk to Me, here's how I'm easily going to rank this whole movie. So overall, if you love A24 and are interested in two YouTubers directing a film for the first time in their lives, then I highly recommend giving this movie a watch and buy for your collection for sure. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Talk to Me, I'm going to give Talk to Me a 9 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my review for Talk to Me. And, yeah, I'm back. Now it feels good to be back home. It's a fun trip, but I'm glad to be back home. I'm glad to be back on YouTube. I just recently had finished unpacking and stuff, so be careful with the criticisms of this video, guys, because I just got back home from my trip. It's been like a few weeks. So, I'm just glad to be back. But, until then, guys, that'll be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.